The first product set that got us to our first seven-figure business was actually in the toys and game space. It was a product that I discovered when I was up watching that infomercial with her in the bottle, and up pops this product called Seat Pets. It's like this really cool seat pet head dog thing, and you put it in the car, attach it to the seat belt, and the kid's head doesn't fall over. It has like crowns in it. It's really cute. It's a plush doll. It's super cute. And I almost went to buy one, and I was like, whoa, dummy, stop. Like, you don't want to buy one, you want to sell one. Like, I was in the mind frame still of coming out of consumerism and going into somebody who provides business and service to somebody else. And I was still switching gears into that framework of mind. And I'm like, wait, I could actually sell one of these.
Welcome to Sterling Insights. Stand out and supercharge your assets. The go-to podcast for financial advisors aiming to grow their assets under management, stand out in a crowded market, and retain assets nearly forever. Are you advising high net worth clients who own appreciated capital assets? Do you want to help them sell without losing a quarter, a third, or even more of their hard-earned profits to capital gains taxes? Then this podcast is tailored for you. Each episode brings you the latest strategies and expert advice from leading financial advisors, seasoned attorneys, and experienced CPAs. Learn how to maximize your clients' wealth, minimize their taxes, and supercharge your advisory practice with actionable insights. Join us on Sterling Insights, Stand Out and Supercharge Your Assets, where you'll gain the knowledge and tools to set yourself apart and achieve unparalleled success in wealth management. Subscribe now and empower your practice for a brighter, more prosperous future. Welcome to this week's edition of Sterling Insights. I'm your host, Roger Silk, and with us today is Neil Twa. Neil is the CEO of Voltage Holdings, which is a company that helps entrepreneurs build, and perhaps equally importantly, exit Amazon FBA brands with nearly automated income. He's helped generate over $100 million in sales. He has co-authored the best-selling book titled Almost Automated Income. And he's built a proven pay-as-you-profit model that turns side hustles into serious money. Glad to have you with us, Neil.
Thanks for having me on, Roger. It's great to be here, brother.
And I assume that the people listening won't know what all those things are. So
Maybe not. Maybe, yeah.
why, why don't we start with, I'll use my ignorance as a proxy, perhaps, for the audiences. Tell us what Amazon FBA brands are.
Well, okay, so Amazon is basically a channel. You probably use it. Someone on here might be using it to order stuff, or their family or significant other order stuff. We get stuff 2 or 3 times a week at our house from Amazon. What you may not recognize is 62% of those products that show up to your house come from third-party sellers like us. So out of the $638 billion, more than half of that goes to third-party sellers and that run their organizations, businesses, small SMBs or large companies around that platform of delivering products last mile to the customer. We just create brands and we incubate them in that platform to determine whether or not they have mass market value. They are 49% of all e-commerce sales now in the United States. And with that, you can take a product and brand to Amazon and you can determine whether or not you can get it into the mass market and get it into people's homes. It's quite a fascinating model that is amazing that the whole infrastructure thing they've got put together actually works. It seems like some days it could work better and other days it works great, which is kind of how this works. But we develop these product and physical product brands and we take them to Amazon first to incubate them and determine mass market value. And then we will move them into other channels, retail, Shopify, online, your own website, other marketplaces like Wayfair or Walmart or wherever it makes sense to reach that customer with those brands. So we really create an omni-channel brand strategy. Amazon's just the first channel we go to the market in.
What does FBA mean?
Fulfilled by Amazon. It's actually a third-party logistics company that was purchased by Amazon a long time ago and rebranded to FBA. It is now the 6th largest logistics company in the world with its own planes, trains, ships, and automobiles to run those products all around to the home or office or wherever the products are ending up. So it has created a logistics facility, a just-in-time movement of product. I don't have to have a warehouse. I don't have to have employees. I don't even handle most of the customer support. Amazon handles a lot of that for us when we leverage their systems to get our products to the customers.
So, for example, if you're driving on the highway and you see a semi and it has the Amazon thing on the side, that's part of Amazon
That's
FBA.
right. My products are in there. My client products are in there. That's right. And with it, it gives an opportunity to create what I call almost automated income. So that's money while you're sleeping. That's money while you're working and other things. It's an economic organic engine, a marketplace of information, and it's moving at 8,600 units a minute. So with 8,600 sales a minute, it is a huge juggernaut of information and product moving through that system and being delivered continuously to the customers. And I can sell products while I'm sleeping, which is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. So, can you give us an example of a, a client, a customer, a
Sure.
product? I'm not sure what the best way to.
Yeah, clients. Well, I can talk about my own brands too. We control about 38 of them that we run ourselves. We've done over 30 million in sales with products and brands. So, there's things I do, there's things I do with my clients and operators and kind of why we do that. We can talk a little bit about all that and why I don't have employees. I've had employees in the past, but what we do is we build operators now, and into these operators, we instill the values of our playbook, our processes, our methodologies, our standard operating procedures. And over 12 months, we help them build a going concern, a business. And with that, they become very good operators in the foundation of building an e-commerce company. From there, later on, as they get better and better, we look at some of the top performers and then offer them opportunities to take some partnership in businesses that we either have of our own that we would like to have them operate or businesses that we're acquiring that they might be able to take an opportunity into because we move through the exit process. We're also in the acquisition process. And with that, all kinds of products. Literally, the goal is for people to realize that you can, when you learn how to sell something in this mechanism, that you can sell anything to anybody in a box. It really just gets down to making sure that it's profitable, that the demands of the customer needs are there, and that you're the one that can deliver it for them.
So, your entrepreneur customers, clients, what would be a typical someone who maybe they don't know about you yet, but they should? Person.
Yeah, it's great because that's a great question. It's going to be somebody who's an aspiring entrepreneur. I have a lot of people who are typically over the age of 40. I have people that are younger, but typically they're over their families. Conservative nature, they maybe work 20, 30 years at a business, a job, or somewhere else already, and they're looking for something different to do. They're looking to move something online. They're looking to leave their job, an opportunity. They're very good, mostly in what they're skilled in doing, and I have literally everybody from 19-year-old high school dropouts to lawyers and fighter pilots and state representatives doing this. So at the end of the day, it gets down to a willingness and aptitude to want to do something online, to want to create an opportunity of a product and brand that you can support, and then learning how to sell that for the obvious outcome. It isn't just the profit of the product, which is important, but it's what I refer to as the five F's. They're typically something that a person is looking for when they're looking at doing a new business or a new venture. First is faith, then there's family, then there's friends, then there's finances and freedom, right? So in the 18 years of doing this, since I left my corporate job at IBM to start my companies, I was looking to extol those values. And in the process of doing that, I had ran into all my own problems and troubles getting things going and had highs and had lows that I've now established as a business owner who is now a business investor. I'm no longer in that entrepreneurial space that I was at before, which was basically seeking the outcome. I was in different spaces and pivoting to figure out, where I would ultimately land. And that's when I landed in brands. But the end result is it's allowed me to have 50 acres plus in the country now, homeschool my daughters. We stay around the property and get to hang out, building all kinds of e-commerce and brands and doing it from a Starlink connection out here in the internet. And that has created and afforded those five F's for my family, for me, for the things that I can do and teach others how to do. And if they're looking to do this kind of business model, it really just gets down to the four factors: the time, energy, attention, and money that needs to be dedicated to making this work, the team effort. Time is a relative measure because if we prioritize, everybody says they don't have enough time, but what they're really saying is, I am not prioritizing my time well. Okay. If you say this a different way, then you are actually empowering yourself. If you say, I don't have enough time, you're actually, a victim of your schedule. You're a victim of your situation. If you say this is not a priority for me right now, then that's a completely different vantage point, right? You're actually empowering yourself to take priority. Now, what we don't want to do is take priority from our life in many ways, like family or spouses or significant others or our children, because you wouldn't want to come into your child and who's like wants to go play and fly a kite with you, and you're just like, well, you're not a priority right now. That would hurt, right? So what do we say is, daddy just doesn't have the time right now. I have another priority. In actuality, if you can't say to their face, you're not a priority to me right now, then you might want to stop and think about what's motivating you to stay where you are right now. And if you want to change that, you're going to want to build something that gives you the opportunity to not say those things or to readjust your schedule or to have the freedom of in the finances that come with creating that kind of business. They're in some hell island of life where they're like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore, or I'm getting tired of running that business, or I cannot do another day in the corporate grind. And they're looking for their heaven island, right? I'm on my heaven island. I live here. It took me 18 years to get here. I live in my lifestyle as a design. I don't have to take a vacation from it, right? I understand that in the concept of what people are going after. And so we build brands and products that give them the runway to get and accomplish those goals. And in that energy and attention, they understand how to focus it as an operator, and they understand how to smartly deploy capital to it and when to deploy and how much to deploy to make it a real, going concern that tosses off profit and has the ability to grow and even create that, almost automated income. And really at the end of the day, it could be all kinds of products, kitchen products, outdoor products. It really sort of doesn't matter as long as it's a profitable product and somebody wants it, right?
Maybe you can give a few examples
Sure.
from different domains of the person. Obviously, keep it generic,
I'll
but
give you some ideas. Yeah, from both myself and my client. Absolutely. The example, I don't want you to get caught with the product because what I really need you to understand is product is not what I actually sell. Product is actually the fulfillment of a legal medium of exchange in which money has been translated to get the product and answer that requirement that I give them a product because they gave me money. They are the ones who love the product. We don't marry our products, right? So when we talk about product, we need to understand what it is in today's world we do when it comes to product. We are actually more data brokers and marketers of data to AI engines. We sell listings to an AI engine. And the AI engine's job is to find the right person just in time to get that product in front of them and meet their intent, meet their need, and then get that product to them and help them with that product all the way to their door. So when I talk about products, understand I'm talking about data that supports a physical product in that translation. It could be all kinds of products. I want you to understand the data by which we got to those products to fulfill that outcome, because that's the most powerful thing you need to understand, right? Especially in today's world. So when I was feeding one of my daughters, I have four daughters, and I was up with a third one somewhere around 3 in the morning, feeding her a bottle. My wife is the early morning owl, and we did this constant shift rotation for years because we had them all in less than 5 years. I had four kids running around in my house.
that's a lot of little
Yeah, I
ones.
didn't sleep for 10 years. And they're all in their teens now. Youngest is about to turn 12. During this time frame, the first product set that got us to our first seven-figure business was actually in the toys and game space. It was a product that I discovered when I was up watching that infomercial with her in the bottle, and up pops this product called Seat Pets. It's like this really cool seat pet head dog thing, and you put it in the car, attach it to the seat belt, and the kid's head doesn't fall over. It has like crowns in it. It's really cute. It's a plush doll. It's super cute. And I almost went to buy one, and I was like, whoa, dummy, stop. Like, you don't want to buy one, you want to sell one. Like, I was in the mind frame still of coming out of consumerism and going into somebody who provides business and service to somebody else. So I went to my partner the next day and I said, hey, I think we can sell one of these. And we did some brainstorming. We came up with three different variation ideas of the product. We made the head look a little bit more like an anime character than an actual doll. We made the pouches a little bigger to hold more. We made the seams a little stronger. We filled it with a slightly different material so it was softer and a little more squishier. And we bought 2,000 units of that physical inventory and we sent it to Amazon. And in 8 weeks, it was all gone. It just went off the shelf. We discovered a lot of things in that process, and we launched five more variations of that product: a cat, a dog, a penguin. And we went wide into that variation. We simply provided the market more of what it was already demanding. See, what we discovered was we're not smart enough to tell the market what it wants, but we got smart enough to figure out what the market wanted, and we gave it what the market wanted. See, they were out there doing all this marketing in the information world on all of this. It takes at least a $500,000 to do one of those advertisements in the information space. And they were spending that easily on the marketing. But what they weren't doing a great job was capturing all that demand. So we simply slipped in to the demand that already existed. And we simply provided our product to the market and said, hey, we want yours instead. We sold more of ours than they did. We sold ours at a higher price point. And when about 3 years later, after we launched the entire product series, we hit about seven figures in our first brand in 2015. From there, that unlocked a process we call our Greenlight process. Profitability, growth, customer need, and other variables were baked into that new cake. And from there, we started to see products differently and see the data of the products. It was a big momentum shift. And from then on, it was a lot easier for us to hit multi six, seven figures and brands over and over again. So we started teaching that to some clients, had a number of clients do very well with our methodology. We have 100 and something clients working with us now. I worked with over 1,000 brands since then, made a lot of people millionaires. Products that are in the home and goods space. We've got kitchen stuff that we're launching in the high-end coffee and espresso space, as well as a kitchen countertop ice cream maker. That's a mid-market ice cream maker. We're going to go after Ninja. It really just gets down to realizing there's this customer need on these marketplaces that is already flowing like a river 24/7, 365. We simply need to put our product in front of that market and find out what it wants. And I'm going to use the data and put some of this product and I'm going to market test it and find out exactly how much they want, which variation they want, which particular size and shape they want, and find out where that real customer need and demand is. And then I'm going to go out and get a lot of that product and provide it to the market. I'm going to test that market after I go. I'm not going to go Hail Mary pass. I'm not going to take 2 years to invent a product because I did that in the past. That was the wrong way to do it. And if you want to lose a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and get nothing in return, but go become an inventor. The key to success is innovation, right? And that is the opportunity for literally every product you can possibly see in the market has an innovation opportunity. So what you really have is a new problem, more products than you can do in a whole lifetime.
So how do you go about if you see some product, a coffee maker or whatever,
Mhm.
how do you go about selling that without having any?
So first we have to get the product. Of course, we have to have some variation of it manufactured. So we will test 100 or 200 units of the product. We'll have it ordered, created, and we ship it in. We test it on Amazon first, and we do a micro test, launch process to see how fast each version of 100 units. So we'll get 400 or 500 units, but we'll get 4 or 5 variations of that product. And we'll put that data in the market because there's enough of it. We call it the 5 by 5 process, 5 products, 5 variations, an average of 25 sales per day is what we're after organically. What we want to do is see how is the market responding to us and our brand and our product, and which variation of that product type do they actually want from us. So we give the market the data we know is good with 80% confidence. We've done all the research, the market, we have the data, we know the profitability, we know the customer need, we know it's in demand on Amazon flowing through, 8, 10, 20, 40 million searches a year. So we simply put that product out there and we say, which one do you want from us?
And so there might be,
Coffee makers, all kinds of stuff.
so let's
Yeah.
just say coffee makers. So there's, I don't know how many coffee makers currently for
Yep.
sale on Amazon, but it's probably a lot, right?
Well, there are thousands, but really at the end, in certain niches within the coffee maker space, there are only 20 to 40 to 60, depending upon which area inside of Amazon you go into. And that becomes your real competition. So Amazon is this river, as I mentioned, right? It's a demand channel that's pulling 8,600 units a minute. So people are coming there continuously. And when they do, they're looking for specific product types. Okay. There is the psychology of buyer of Amazon is to buy something. That's why they're there. That's why they went there. That was the entire intent and purpose of their visit. It wasn't knowledge, it wasn't education. Many times it's not even price sensitivity per se. It is solution oriented. They're there to find a problem. With that, they're going to look at the product and determine which one they think is of the best value. Our job as marketers to put that product in the market and branders is to say, we answer the 3 major questions you already had in your mind when you came to the platform, and we're going to answer those very quickly. See, people want to buy, they don't want to be sold. So mistakes marketers make a lot is, oh, buy now. Oh, sale ends in 24 hours, blah, blah, blah. And they try to force the sale from the customer. What brands like Lamborghini and higher end brands that we do is they attract the customer out of the quality and the type of product and the presentation, they attract it. And so what we do is we spend a lot of time in the language, the copy, the images, and the graphics, attracting the customers to answer the questions they had in their mind and get them to believe in relatively quick terms, 30 seconds or less, that we are the best answer to the solution they were looking for. They understand the market. They understand how fast it's going to get to them when they buy it. They understand their return policy if they don't like it. And that's that ecosystem that we live in when we first launched these products. So as we go into this system, being that it is a river of traffic, we say Amazon's like a river, but it's also a tree. It has these areas in it of very specific focus and a very relevant space for a coffee machine that we're shooting for, a specific kind of coffee machine where we know there's 23 other competitors. And we know those 23 other competitors do 80,000 units on average a piece every year. We want to become one of those that does 20, 80,000 units out of the 23, number 24. We want to do at least 80,000 units a year. So we know the numbers, the specifics, and we know the competition. We're shooting for better profitability, stronger marketing, and a better acquisition strategy to go out and beat them at their own game and start taking away market share. So organic first, can I actually get it to sell once it hits the listing and goes live? Does it organically happen because Amazon has an organic search engine from all that traffic and demand that's going, right? And if I've done a great job of aligning and making a hyper relevant product listing, okay, even before the units are shipped, you have to get somebody to buy the product, right? So you don't have it in your hand. You may not even have a version of it, but when you go to Amazon, you're going to buy it with the intent that it will show up a few days later. So are you buying the product or are you buying the intent? You're buying the intent. I want you to have the best feeling ever when that product shows up. So I'm going to create an amazing packaging on those products and make sure there's a very good presentation and get you a good experience with that product. Why? Because I want that positive loop to close and I want those positive reviews to come in and I want this economic engine to start because once it gets going, it can become a juggernaut. We've had brands go to seven figures in 8 months. Once you
Mm.
get this right, it can move extremely fast. And this is a huge
So
marketplace.
the data, for example, you said 80,000. I don't know if that's a real number or you pulled it out of the air,
I'm
but
actually talking about real numbers I have in
uh,
my, yep.
and is that information available or are you guys?
We have a website inside a software tool that we use called the Greenlight tool, and we will be making it public when we launch it later this year. But it's been in beta inside of my system, being used by us and my clients for the last few years under an NDA. We will eventually make part of it public. The rest will help people understand where the product is, where to find the product and customer need that is in demand by Amazon already, and where they can actually get a product version of that to go test and market themselves. And that will come out of the software later. But for now, it's kept internally because it's a proprietary and a leg up against the competition for us to go launch these products. So we're launching 6 new products this year right now that are in pipeline and should be the first series of them are going out. And well, actually, 2 of them went out at the end of mid of December. I'm getting my time frame confused. So 2024, they're doing very good, very well, $3,000 to $4,000 a day in sales. And I have 6 more, again, I said, coming out this year. I have one coming out in around May. We have another one coming around June-ish. If we're doing great, I think we'll do great for that launch. And then we have another one coming out around August.
Uh-huh. So if somebody's listening or an advisor is listening, he knows he has a client, and let's say that that person is in the situation that you talked about near the beginning of our talk, mid-career, maybe he's 45 and works,
Too
doesn't
much.
love his job, works too
Yeah.
much, has some capital put aside, but thinks, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. Does that person have to have, oh, here's the product that I want to do and come to you guys, or they come to you and you start with them of let's find a product that works for you?
I'm going to give them a list of the top customer needs in demand from Amazon, and they can choose one of those. We don't need them to guess. What I need them to understand is why that product's being chosen,
Uh,
is the profitability of that product. So we have a green, yellow, red light system that literally tells them this is why this is green. And I want to train them on the operation of tactics to put that product in the market so they become successful. And there's a big, hairy, audacious goal I have in mind for each person that works with us. Okay. When the person works with us, not only am I shooting for 100K in net profits when they're working with us, or will continue to work, I'm going to put a 10K and hedge a bet that we're going to hit that 100K in net profit after 12 months of working with us. I'm also getting them to a going concern in years 3 and 4 and 5. I want them to become part of the 8% that don't fail in business in years 4 and 5. And I want to acquire that company from them. So we have what's called a first rights of refusal. So as I work with each
okay.
client to build and grow that brand, I already had a channel. I am working on this and I want to go to growth or scale. Part of working with us is the understanding that later on, off market, they will come to us and we'll acquire and want to acquire the brand from them. So as I start up each of these products and brands from my database and my software and tools, I already know what needs to be done. I just need operators to be willing to be trained to become CEO operators. When they do, they are much more powerful than an employee, as you can imagine. They become successful in their own business. And then when that happens, I actually employ them, if you will, through partner contracts and percentage splits in these other companies to help me operate these other companies. So I've got, hired mercenaries who are already executives or and operators of their own brand who then work with me on additional brands. If we acquire a brand, I might bring one of them in to help us work on that brand as well. and they're incentivized through the profit split. So that's how I ended up with no employees, even though once upon a time I had 12 and ended up getting rid of them.
So what would, as we take our hypothetical 45-year-old
Yeah.
comes to you and he says, Neil, what's, I want to do this.
Mhm.
What do I have to do? And what do you suggest? Like,
Well, I'm looking for I'm looking for a specific profile because not everybody fits this. And because I'm not a course or a program and I'm not running a coaching agency that's trying to put 1,000 people in a month or some crap like that. And I'm not focusing hopium nonsense. I have an actual goal for my business and looking to see who might fit in with their goals and expectations and decide if we get in the rowboat together. I interview every person. I'm looking for a specific profile, and we actually do a disc assessment for each person. A disc assessment, if you've ever talked about that from here, it helps, it's an aptitude of business and drive and some level of intelligent aspect of business understanding that determines your dominance, influence, stability, or conscientious side of you. And it really isn't down to what you care about colors and how you feel. It's down to what you think about business and whether or not you're trainable and whether or not you're willing to listen and follow in the mentorship and follow the playbook because I have an expected outcome for both of us. And if you're unable to do that, it's probably not a good fit. So there's that time, energy, attention, and money aspect are kind of where we're falling in line here. It's the energy and attention that I'm looking for from those operators and the aptitude and tenacity to go through this. And they will typically have more of an ISC profile in their disc assessment. My greatest operators and every person we've ever assessed who's come along with us, and the ones who didn't do so great and the ones that did really great, we've got a pretty good idea exactly of what that operator needs to be to have success. And if it's not a good fit, I will simply just tell them it's not a good fit and not invite them
uh-huh.
to work with us because therein lies the, gotcha that would be either them failing on their, dime and my time and vice versa and not getting the success they wanted out of it because they weren't willing to apply themselves. And since I've not, want to work with everybody, we have a conversation and they meet with me and we find out if it's a good fit. And I got to go through the details and opportunity costs, talk about what the 3 year, 4 year plan looks like for the business itself and what goals are there for growing, building at year one, growing at year two, scaling it in years 3 through 5, so they can become part of that 8%. The 92% of people don't understand the fundamentals of business on their own. And I didn't when I started. So everything now has been geared to take my 18 years of experience, my direct partner who's been with me for 12 years, and his experience and knowledge in business and finance and operations and help them get to something in 12 months. It took us a long time to get, but now we can replicate it much faster.
And how much capital does that person need to bring to the table?
Yeah, it's a great question because usually everybody underthinks capital by about half of what they actually need. So with that, they don't give themselves enough capital to get going, and they don't give themselves enough time to deploy that capital to see the going concern, okay, which is a business that's driving revenue, turn into a profitable venture. The two components of the capital question come at when it fails. People who fail to start are not willing to deploy the capital necessary to make it go. They think it's unrisked. They don't understand what it takes to do real business. The second component is when the opportunity presents itself and they get their product going and they're starting to grow their business. Because it is a physical product cash flowing business, it requires inventory, like real estate, right? It requires capitalization of that product. The difference is the cash on cash value of inventory is way different than inventory in a real estate world, right? I can turn that inventory over faster, capitalize it faster, write it off, and move that product forward much faster than real estate, which takes a lot longer. This is why I really got into this. Business and real estate are the two places you get wealthy in America, so you should pick one of those no matter what I say. But the end result is that you take 25,000 minimum to get started. That's my minimum requirement for somebody who gets going. Why? They need the capital to start the business, they need the capital to test the products, and they need the capital to scale the first products in the market that become successful. Because immediately when a product takes off, you have to buy more inventory. You have to be willing to capitalize the going concern that you have to move it into profit. And how much capital it takes after that was really determined by what we call a 90-day cash flow plan. Okay. Operating expenditures, cost of goods, an accounting system, bookkeeping, etc. How do I read a P&L? How do I manage cash flow? Why accrual versus cash and what, the way we do of the business, and then understand how to deploy that capital in a faster by faster mechanism to get to the goals that you want to have. At that point, you may be deploying 100,000 or 500,000 or $1 million later on in year 1 and 2 to really see your business take off faster. Because once you learn the product, once you learn the market, it is like an economic engine, more like snowball rolling downhill or a wave coming in, it is going to move very quickly. And if you ride it, if your risk to reward ratio is not to be too concerned and fearful about deploying capital in a going concern to get it more profitable and moving faster, then the sky is the limit on how fast and how big you want to go. I've had clients reach 15 million a year in less than 4 years. I've had one client who made 40 million a year in his first year. These are unicorns, but they show the real potential. I want to see people do 6 to high 6 figures in profit in their business per year. And that can easily be achieved in years 4 through 5.
What else that I haven't had a chance to ask you about, or we haven't had a chance to hit on? What would you want the audience to know at this point?
Anything you can do to support yourself is an opportunity that starts at the beginning of the end of your excuses. So no matter what kind of business or thought you're doing, the end result is if you don't take execution, you're never going to get the experience. And without the experience, you'll never gain the wisdom. So start something, figure it out. If e-commerce is interesting to you, you might check out what we're doing or check out the idea of physical products and inventory. Because these business models, as we build them up, they are an exitable or saleable asset. As we go and build this up, people are willing to spend a lot of money to buy these companies, even ourselves and our private equity groups. So if you want to build something with the end in mind. But remember, cash flow is king, revenue is vanity, and profit is sanity. So we always want to focus on the most profitable aspects of a brand and business. And if we're going to do that, then the opportunity potential has enormous upside for generational time freedoms and wealth freedoms, and showing you how to, live a different lifestyle than the one you have now, maybe with your friends, maybe with your family, maybe in a different purpose. If you want to check that out, it's voltagedm.com. Watch the presentation, check out what we're doing, grab a copy of the book if you're a reader, and learn the strategy of that, what we call our as seen on TV strategy that led to my first 7-figure brand, and it might lead to yours as well.
Well, fantastic. So just to repeat that in case people missed it, you said it pretty fast. If someone wants to contact you or learn more about this, where should they go?
Voltagedm.com, voltagedigitalmarketing.com. You can grab the book and other information and resources from there, or just Google my last name, TWA. I'm not hard to find.
Right. And the book is Almost Automated Income.
With FBA. That's right. Starting on that channel and then moving into other channels.
Right. Excellent. Thank you so much, Neil.
Thank you for your time, Roger. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Sterling Insights. Stand out and supercharge your assets, where we provide the info you need from successful leading financial advisors, lawyers, and CPAs. Your hosts, Roger and Catherine Silk, invite you to learn more about Sterling Foundation Management by visiting sterlingfoundations.com.